Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sheila Marmon. I am the founder and CEO of Mirror Digital, and I'd love to welcome you to episode 9 of Mirror Moments. Today, we are going to be speaking to female media moguls who are rocking it in digital. We've got some amazing women that we've had the opportunity to partner with at Mirror Digital, and I can't wait for them to share their stories with you, their keys to success, and let you know everything that they're doing to move our industry forward. So I'm just going to start off going in alphabetical order, introducing folks one by one and letting them just tell a little bit of who they are, their platform, what kind of content they cover, and then we'll dive into the conversation. So Ranisha, why don't we start with you?
Thank you so much for having me, for hosting me, and also for being such an amazing partner. Got to shout you out for that. Hey, everyone. My name is Ranisha Bing. I am the founder and CEO of Her Agenda. Her Agenda is a digital media platform bridging the gap between ambition and achievement for millennial women. And we're built around the motto of no one ever slows her agenda, which means whatever your goal is, go for it and don't let anyone or anything stop you. We've been around for about 14 years. It's been a long, hard road, but excited to be here. And I'm a journalist first, just to give you some background and context on me. And so what I'm proud of is just building a platform that really creates stories that align with the ethics and principles of journalism.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Ranisha. Next, we have Lisa.
Hey there, Sheila, thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure to work with you. And, I'm just so grateful to be here. I feel like, just part of the group here. So I founded Be Latina for my first platform just really quickly because I just want to get that in because that was the entree to getting into the US Hispanic market was Hip Latina. That was the very first platform that I launched. And the second one, and that was acquired in 18, I believe. And the second one is Be Latina. And I'll just share a little bit about Be Latina. And Ranisha, it's great to hear that, you're journalist first. That is amazing because that's really, the backbone of what Be Latina is as well. We're a leading cultural lifestyle destination for brave thinking and like-minded women with bold ideas that matter. And we are also inspired to go deeper and change the conversation. Be Latina impacts and celebrates this monumental cultural shift to create even more space for the evolution of Latina, Latino, Latin, Latinx, Afro-Latin, Latino, and Latina and Latinx, Afro-Latinx, empowered across multiple themes and channels. Our mission is to showcase inspirational women through a distinctive combination of diversity, intelligence, and authentic voice, underscored by ambitious journalism. So that's a mouthful, so sorry about that. But
No, we
that's who
love
we
that.
are.
No apologizing.
Yeah.
No, unapologetic here. We are unapologetic here. Okay, so Ellen, please share with us a little bit about your platform and your mission.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Sheila, thanks again for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here. And as someone who grew up wanting to be a journalist, but actually didn't take that career path, I'm already so inspired by both of you and your backgrounds. So my name is Ellen Yin. I am the founder of Cubicle to CEO, a digital media company and podcast serving a global community of over 50,000 women-owned businesses through education, mentorship, and increased access to social capital. And the main vehicle through which we've done that over the last number of years is through our online marketing programs, teaching small business owners how to show up online, how to get visible, how to actually convert their audiences into paying clients and customers. And so through those programs, we've been able to work with over 10,000 women. And it's been such an incredible journey being able to show up as an educator in this space.
Awesome.
Fantastic. So everyone, we are in for a very special conversation here. We want to really take you behind the scenes of what makes these women tick and how they keep these fabulous businesses going. So let's start with a broad question that is really, centered in our hearts. Tell me, what is the most interesting and fulfilling thing you do about your work? And any of you guys can jump in as the first question here and just tell us, what makes you get up in the morning? Where's that inspiration? What, gives you that drive? What are those things?
I think for me, it's being able to connect the dots for the women in our community. I think so often people have these really great big dreams, and especially if they're the first person in their direct family or in their community to pursue something like this, it's very difficult to know what the right next step to make is or what the right next connection is. And so I think being able to help guide them on that path of, okay, this is the resource you want to start with, or this is the person you want to talk to, and introducing them to new ideas of what's possible, that's really what lights me up.
I love it.
Well, I think one of the things that lights me up, I love that. That's like an awesome quote. You know, what inspires me most, I think, is developing and working with my team, honestly. You know, I mean, like my number one, Giselle, who works with me every single day, she started with me at Hip Latina as a writer, right? And now we've developed her all the way to be our senior deputy editor. And every day we're both learning something new every day, right? And that's what gets me out of bed is I have to learn something new every day. And seeing the stories that we produce, learning something new by everybody that we've written about. I mean, I've learned so much by some amazing women. So I would say that's really what inspires me, is to be able to share that knowledge that I have from my other background, which was in the wine business, but doing luxury branding. But the other side of it is learning from her as well. So, it's great. I love it. I love the connection.
Yeah, Lisa, you just made me think about something different than what I was originally going to say. Like for me, something that helps me keep going is just those moments of alignment. And so that's multiple things that happen. Sometimes it's with my team and having those full circle moments. So one example recently, our last managing editor, she's not with us anymore because she's just like so smart and always, moving up, moving on. But she started out as an intern at her agenda when she was like 16 years old. And a few years later down the line, I was able to hire her as our managing editor. Like those type of full circle moments and alignment really motivate me to keep going. And then on the other side of it is just our readers and our audience, and just hearing from them that we maybe change the way they approach an issue at work, or that we help them find, a new roommate or a new job through our community. It's just, there's so many stories of transformation that we don't even get to capture. I only get the stories of when I'm, passing through rooms and someone happens to grab me to tell me we need to get better at capturing those stories. But, moments of alignment, the full circle moments are what keep me going and help me to realize that I am on the path of my purpose and really fulfilling the mission that I was meant to fulfill.
Wow. So those words are just, make me light up, because I just am so in alignment with everything that you all are saying. Having purpose-driven work, being able to not only fulfill yourself professionally and economically, but also fulfill yourself, spiritually and emotionally through the work that you do, is a blessing and a privilege. And I love to hear what you guys have all been doing. Now, the choice to put a certain group, in this instance women or small businesses, at the center of what you do is very specific. So at Mirror Digital, we focus on the new America, multicultural America, servicing Black, Latinx, AAPI, and LGBTQ clients. And in focusing on those audiences, everyone would say, oh, that's such a nice niche, what a great niche. And I like to remind everyone that these are the growth audiences. We are the future, and we are the now in terms of shaping culture. So please tell me a little bit, like, what was your journey to deciding that you're going to place women at the core of what you do and be unapologetic about it?
Yeah, so I'll dive in. So it's interesting, and a lot of you don't know this, but I'm not Latina. I was raised in a multicultural household. My stepmother, who raised me since I was 5, first gen American, Mexican American. So it was, pretty much stepped right into it. And when I was going through a transition of careers or life, I saw an opportunity that no one was writing really good content for this audience. At that time in 2013, 2014, it was just Latina really was the big one for the audience, and a little bit of Me Too and a little bit of Remezcla. But I felt, me personally, that the audience deserved really good content, right? So, it was an easy thing for me to create because that's what I grew up in. And I grew up around very, very smart women. That was with my stepmother and all of her siblings, when her parents immigrated from Mexico, first and foremost, it was education, education, education. So all of the kids, went to college, and they were all, of course, first gen college educated, that they became teachers, working for the state of California. My stepmother, who passed away a few years ago, when she retired as a prison warden for the state of California. So she did a full circle. She started out in the medical field and then ended up in the other side. So it was just a natural thing for me to think that everybody deserves great content.
Mm.
And it's about education. That's what it is, about education.
I'm with you
Absolutely.
100%, Lisa. I feel like your story really resonates with me because similar to you, I feel like my decision to shine a spotlight on women in and through my business is, partly influenced by my upbringing. I'm a first generation immigrant. So I actually moved to the United States with my family when I was 3. So I did grow up here in the States, but, growing up in a first generation immigrant family, it's a very unique experience. And I think that, it's like that concept of you don't know what you don't know, or you don't know what you're not exposed to. And so I think, growing up, I had a very rigid idea of what my life could be, what my career could look like. And I think it's only through, being exposed to other people's stories and seeing other paths of possibility that I was even aware that there was something else that I could create for myself. And that's the goal that I have through our platform and the stories that we share, is that people like myself, like a younger version of myself, can hear someone or see someone who looks like them, who maybe comes from a similar background as them, and realize, oh, I didn't even know this was a possibility I could pursue. And realizing that, this world of theirs that maybe looks so small and however they grew up, it's actually such an expansive place for them to really explore.
I love that there's so many parallels and intersections, because my answer to this question really directly ties and builds on what Ellen just shared. So just to sum up, the reason why we created a platform that centers women comes really down to the idea that you can't be what you can't see. And for me, my journey is also very rooted in how I grew up, and it's very personal. I started out my career in journalism, my professional career in journalism, when I was about 15 or 16 years old, because I really recognized it as my purpose. Like, I didn't think about it like, oh, this is a career I'm starting. It literally was an alignment of all my gifts and skills that came to me naturally. I was always called nosy, which is actually curiosity, which is a skill for journalism. I always love to be the first person to know something. I don't know why, it's just something in me that just had a thirst to be the first one to know and tell everybody about it. Didn't recognize that those were skills, but then when I did, and I had that aha moment, I literally hit the ground running, and I started to go to press conferences. I was covering red carpets. I was doing celebrity interviews, all while I was still in high school. Then you fast forward, and I'm in college and decide to take a women's studies class. And I'm thinking I'm gonna learn about how women run the world and how women are great. Just that's what I thought the class would be about. And because my little bubble of growing up, I was surrounded by women in power, women who were producers, women who were publicists, women who were calling the shots in my eyes as a young, very impressionable woman who was just sort of impassioned by this whole world of journalism and media. So I'd get in this class and learn that the gender pay gap is still a thing, and that the patriarchy exists, and that when you look globally, that women are not in positions of power. I was shocked. I was like, what is going on in the world? And I understood, because I was studying communications and media, that, whoever controls the media controls the mind at the end of the day. And so I thought, if I could create a platform that told the stories of powerful, ambitious women, how they got to where they are in spite of the obstacles that exist, in addition to creating something that provides access to the opportunities, not just inspiration from the stories, that perhaps I could create a shift and ultimately change the ratio of women in positions of power. So that really, I think, speaks to a lot of the themes that we just talked about, but really it comes down to like the power of the media. You can't be what you can't see. And unfortunately, the media industry as a whole is owned by white billionaire men. And think about how that is impacting the stories that we see and that we take in.
Yes, the lens through which we see all of our stories and how those are told and the stories that are not told. So, kudos to all of you because it is so important to own our stories and to support the diverse voices like the three of you here, and like so many more of the amazing publishers that we work with. Um, Now, what advice would you give your viewers about, kind of navigating the general media landscape where you are going to see those negative stereotypes, where you may hear craziness about women of color? Like what do we do to counteract that? What is our defense?
I mean, I can just jump in real quick because I mean, how much time do we have? Really? But I would tell
She's like, let
them
me lean back and take
to,
off my heels.
Yeah.
I would tell them honestly to look at failure as an opportunity to learn. And that's hard because there will be a lot of failures, especially when you're working on something innovative and new and different, or you have a new approach. There will be many failures. Look at it as an opportunity to learn. And for me, I've experienced a lot of rejection as an entrepreneur, as a founder. And what I do is I use that rejection as fuel to prove people wrong and to make them regret, rejecting me. And there's also this phrase that's very well known that, man's rejection is God's protection. I really believe in that. But just a small example of that, and this is just me being a little petty. Sometimes you need to be a little petty to just help yourself digest it all. But I wanted to get into an accelerator. An accelerator, is focused a lot on startups. And this was an accelerator specifically to fund media with purpose. And I was a semi-finalist, didn't get in, but I actually took upon myself last week to look to see, the people who did get in the year where I was rejected, where are they now? And pretty much all of them don't exist anymore, except for maybe one. And I was just like, what? That rejection was my fuel to keep going and to keep building and keep being innovative.
I think to add on to that, Ranisha, I love this concept of, if doors are closed to you in traditional vehicles to success or whatever it is, wherever you're trying to go. My friend used to say, if they're not going to give you a place on their stage, then build your own stage. I think it's so important to realize that we can create opportunities for ourselves. And I also really liked what you said about using failure as an opportunity. We talk about this a lot in my community. I always tell people like, there's truly no such thing as a failure, right? Because you gain wisdom, you gain insight from that. So you're actually learning. So you don't lose, you learn. And I think that if you can look at every opportunity as what I tell my team is like, everything is an opportunity to collect data. Let's remove our emotions from it. Let's stop attaching our meaning and our worth to the outcome of something and just look at it as if we were scientists, as if we were detectives. We're looking for clues and being able to take that and say, okay, how can I iterate from this? How can I go in a little bit wiser, a little bit faster, a little bit smarter the next time? I think if you can look at that and embrace the fact that to be really excellent at something, you're going to have to be not so good at it at the beginning, right? So starting before you're ready, taking that leap and embracing the opportunity that comes with not getting it right on the first shot, I think is such great advice.
And I do want to add a small nuance to just give more context on the failure piece of it and how important it is for us to embrace that. Often when you're the first or the only, you have this sort of unspoken burden where you feel like you can't fail because then you feel like the door will be closed behind you and no one who looks like you will get an opportunity again. And I think that is why it's so important for us to uplift stories of failure, especially women of color who have failed and then pivoted and still succeeded at the end. We need to have more examples of that and less shame around that concept.
That's so
Yeah.
good. Yes.
And I can echo that for the two of you as well. And Sheila, I am with Hip Latina. I would have loved to have said it was a 100% out of the ballpark. It, again, I had no idea about the media business, but I saw the opportunity and I wasn't going to have anybody tell me no, because that's not my deal. And I just surrounded myself with really smart people, other people in other parts of the industry, and asked them for help. You know, it's what you don't know what you don't know, right? And when you become vulnerable on that aspect of it, people are more apt to help, right? So when I say that Hippolytina wasn't a success to what I feel like could have been a really great success, all that time that I spent building that and learning about it just catapulted me into the next one of making it even more important, that it helped me find the right voice or the right women to have that voice, right? So my audience with Hippolytina may not be the same audience with Be Latina. A few of them are, but you know, this time it's really empowered me to align with the right people. And when I say align with the right people, that means alignment with groups, like Latinas with Masters, like they're one of my biggest fans, and I'm her biggest fan who created that one. So that, you know, by aligning with folks like that, it also builds your audience the same alignment. And that's, you know, I hate to say audience because I feel like we're all, you know, we're all each other's audience, right? But I get
In
that.
community.
And community, yes, yes, thank you. Community, that's a better word. So, you know, I just love it. And, you know, it was hard, the first one. I had no idea. And this one, it's fun now, right? I find it fun, where the first one is like, yeah. And, you know, so that's where I'm at.
Well, you guys are dropping so many pearls of wisdom here. We talked about failure. Don't feel like failure is the end of the road, because you're going to learn more and you're going to get back up. We talked about asking for help, building community, being the first and knowing that that's okay, and learning from where you can. So all of these things help you on your entrepreneurial journey. And I want to talk more specifically about entrepreneurship. You all may or may not know, but women of color are the fastest growing segments of entrepreneurs in this country. And so it's like we're out here doing the most, but we have the fewest resources to help us get to where we want to get. So let's talk a little bit about how we've been scrappy, how we've been resourceful, and how we ask for help to build our enterprises and chase our dreams. And anyone, please feel free to jump in.
Well, I started my business as an accidental entrepreneur. I don't know if any of you here today can relate to that story, but I actually quit my job without the intention of starting a business. But while I was looking for my next position, I landed my first freelance client, and it was a $300 project, right? Nothing life changing. But like I said before, I think it's about opening your mind to what's possible. And until that moment, I don't think I even realized, oh, like there is an alternative path for me where I could create my own income by working with clients on my own instead of like through an existing company. And so, just taking that first $300, reinvesting back into myself, that's what has allowed our company to grow. So we didn't have any, investors. I didn't have any big, nest egg that I could just pour into this business. I was very young. I was only 23 times. So just really prioritizing reinvestment, and also mentorship. I think mentorship is so key. I think that there is no shortcut to success, right? There's no overnight magic bullet that's going to blow you up. But I think that when you invest in mentors, you're able to filter what all the different options ahead of you through perspective, through the lens of perspective, right? Because they're over on the 100th floor, you're on the ground floor, and they can see everything that you can sidestep. You can shortcut people's mistakes, even if you can't shortcut your way to success. And so that being scrappy, being resourceful, and thinking about how you can collaborate with people. I think collaboration was a huge piece of why I was able to self-fund my business is by working with people who had a similar mission, who had a similar audience, who wanted to accomplish similar things. I think that is also key to being scrappy.
I'm loving all this. More. Tell me more.
I mean, Ellen, I think really summed it up. I also started out, this started as a side hustle for me, actually. I always knew I wanted to do it full time, but didn't have the capital, the resources, any of that stuff. I don't come from a trust fund. I don't have access to a pot of money either. And so I actually went full time with my business in 2015. So it's only been 7 years full time. And my approach was, first I saved as much money as I could from my day job. And then I finally took the leap, as they say, in 2015. But what really
Okay,
got me
I have to
through.
stop you, Nisha, for one thing. You said it's only been 7 years full time. No, it's been 7 years of you killing it full time. Can we please remix that?
Thank you for that. And see, this is why you need to have a tribe and circle of powerful women to just help you get perspective, like Ellen was saying. But yeah, what really got me through was strategic partnerships. You know, that's basically another way of saying collaboration, but it was truly like strategic in that, you know, it was 2015. I was trying to get the brand out there, and we decided to host panels every month. I don't have money for venue rentals. I don't have money for a lot of things, but what I did have was social capital. So while I didn't have financial capital, I had social capital. And I used that in order to create a really monumental and legendary event series that we called Her Agenda Live. We got access to free office space through a strategic partner. And we also, you know, framed it in terms of the women that we feature in the conversations as a press or media opportunity, because we didn't have money to pay speakers at the time. And it ended up a win-win situation for everyone, because, you know, we did get a lot of press to come through to our events. This was sort of before everybody and their mother and their cousin and their aunt was putting together a conference. So our audience was really hungry for that, you know, in the room access to these high profile women that we would often read about and see. And we would charge for tickets. So literally we had no overhead, and then we would make money from tickets. And that allowed me to also get to know my audience and gather data on the audience. So while I didn't have any, you know, title sponsors for that first year, then when I was going after sponsors, I actually had real data to explain who my audience is, about how many people we would have in the room, what their demographic is, and all of the things that the sponsors love to know. So it was a great, you know, way to make revenue, but also then to just grow as a brand and as a company to then sell it and get access to those bigger dollars.
Yeah, that's amazing, right? And so I echo that of being self-funded too, right? Saw the idea, saw the opportunity, nothing was going to stop me. And you know, that's just seeing the audience of the thirst for it. And when social capital, that's the first time I've heard that, and that's an amazing term. So I'm gonna borrow that one, because that's what I felt that I had with Hip Latina. You know, this was Cowboys and Indians, when Facebook was just like handing out followers like nobody's business. Anybody would follow and everybody would engage, right? And now we struggle for that because it's not the same old Facebook. And that was even before Instagram was the thing, right? I mean, but anyway, so the intimacy of, I love hearing you, Ranisha, when you would have these conferences of getting to know your audience or your community, right? And that's how I felt with Hip Latina as well. I mean, I could wake up every morning and know who was going to comment on a post, and I'm just like, oh, great, she's there today, right? So it is really knowing that community, and you know, and it also allows you to ask for help when you want data, right? And that's another big thing. Like, I send out surveys to our folks a lot, and they're happy to respond for nothing. But you know, but it's, they know that they're helping shape our content by giving those responses. So, you know, I live for that too. And it's really being part of our community.
I just want to add one more thing to this concept of social capital, because I believe in it so passionately. It's, part of our mission. And I think it's that when you're starting out, like going back to this idea of being scrappy, I think sometimes when we're starting out, a big question I get from a lot of entrepreneurs is, well, what if I don't have anything to offer to strategic partnerships, right? Because like, I'm just at the beginning, like, what could I possibly give them of value? And I think one of the best ways to provide value in life, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or working within an organization, is connecting mutual people in your networks who have, who can benefit from knowing one another. So when I was starting out and I didn't have a lot to offer, right, or I didn't already have an existing media platform that I could leverage to say, hey, why don't you come on our show and we'll do, XYZ, I would just think about, okay, who is one person that I already know in my network today that I can connect with a new person? And when you do that, consistently over and over again, you kind of become this like bridge point, this starting point for a lot of amazing relationships, and the collaborations and the, work that come out of those partnerships. You're their central starting point, right? So naturally you become top of mind for other things that come up in the future that you may be a fit for. So if you feel like you're starting with nothing, I think the easiest thing to do is just go out there today and be a connector. Do it selflessly. Don't think about what's in it for you. Just think about how you can connect other people you already know to each other to support their work.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. That's a great, yep, exactly.
These are some great hacks that you guys are sharing and what you need to do to get off the ground, because it isn't easy. And I love that you all have a journey that hasn't necessarily been a straight line, but keeping at it, moving forward and pressing on. I love it. I'd love to talk a little bit more about some of the challenges that you've overcome as an entrepreneur and where you're headed with your businesses. I mean, you guys are doing amazing things. How are you attracting that next talent? How are you getting that next brand to partner with you? What are some of these tips and tricks for success?
Anybody want to jump in?
Sally, jump in.
Oh my goodness. There's so many things. I think it's always about coming from a place of value for the other person. I think that's really, really key, is to think about what is their priority in this season of their business, and how do you align your priorities with their priorities, because that's where the true magic happens. And I think you can't do that unless you, like I said, like put on your detective hat and you show up with curiosity. I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, whether it was Lisa or Ranisha, but curiosity is such a superpower. It's such an underrated superpower. And I think that the most important thing is to never assume anything about anyone, never assume that you know what they want or what they need, and instead just go in with questions, be open to learning and discovering. And then through that, seeing, okay, if your priority in this season of your business is X, then here's what I can do to show up for you and how we can collaborate together. So like, for example, an easy way that I do this is at the end of every podcast interview, I always ask my guests, what are you working on right now in your business that you're most excited about? And how can we support you in this season? And it's so interesting to hear what comes out of their mouths. And honestly, a lot of times people will tell me, wow, like no one's ever actually asked me that, which you would think is such a basic thing to ask when you're, forming a connection with someone. But it's just that people don't often take that extra step to really explore that further. And so I think that is a really easy way that you can start today, is just start asking your colleagues, start asking your partners, what are you working on that you're most excited about right now? How can we use our resources and what we're working on to support you in that?
Yes, I'm gonna piggyback on that, and that is absolutely 100% the truth. Going in when you're talking to brands, right? Or brands are talking to us, because we have a TV show as well. So that just launched. Our second episode is going to be on Wednesday. And our mindset has to be that, we're the vehicle for them, right? So we're the vehicle, we want to represent or give you the best light to be the best representative of your brand and tell your story, right? It's not about us, it's about them, right? We're that vehicle. And I love the word curiosity instead of nosy, because I too was one of those kids that was very nosy. But it is all about curiosity, and that's how we get to know people, and that builds that relationship. Relationships are number one in this, and that's how you continue to make connections. And let's be real, if we're talking about money, that's how you keep your relationship and your return business with the client, right? But it is all about, we're the vehicle for them. We have, they're trusting us to make sure their story is told. And that's fun too. I mean, I love it. I love to see how our studio pulls out, these really great things about some of our brand partners that we're working with. And it's just amazing the ideas that come out of it. And and I do believe that we're telling their stories. So
for me, I'm in a season of really at the brink of getting to the next level of my business. And I honestly feel like I have not worked this hard since I started my company. because the level of humbling I have to do to myself and, bring folks in that know more than me and like literally learn sometimes a whole new language. Like 2 years ago, we had an agency that handled all of our programmatic sales, and then they folded that part of their business. And I had to then step in to learn that whole world, which is a whole other language. And, Sheila and I, we talk about this from time to time. And I had to, level up. I really feel like I'm in grad school. I didn't go to grad school, but that whole thing and just understanding then also the mechanics of delegating and hiring strategically and, not getting overzealous, the chicken before the egg and making sure that I'm being smart about that. So I hired a coach to help me with my sales pipeline and forecasting. I also am working with another expert on just analyzing our pricing structure and just making sure I'm not underselling the business because, for a small, not small, but like an independent media company with not a lot of overhead in terms of full-time staff, often these deals can come in and sound like big numbers, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not really that big. And I should be asking for more. So I do ask for more, but it's like, what is more? That's like not really a quantifiable term. That's very fluid. And so your concept of more is informed by the knowledge that you have. And going back to what Ellen said, you don't know what you don't know. And so I'm just making an effort to surround myself with people who will humble me, being vulnerable and showing my numbers and talking about my numbers openly with the right folks so that I can be better informed to ask for more in a way that makes sense to then grow my bottom line and ultimately hire more people, create more opportunity, which is really the end goal and why I'm going through all these headaches.
Well, I just want to add one thing to that, knowing your value, right? Of what your pricing is. And this is probably gonna not make some of our brand partners happy. But for so long, when I came into this business, I had worked in luxury marketing. So, I started up here. And what I had seen in the business is that everybody was selling down here. So I felt like the audience was being discounted. And I mean, our community, right? So, when everything started to shift about good content, everybody's now keeping an eye on the multicultural marketing. And I'm like, people, we cannot discount. Our audience is worth it. We're worth it, right? And I can't say that enough, right? So ladies, we all want the business, but we can't give it away. And that's when I've talked to other folks and I'm like, please raise your prices because you're not doing any favors to anybody when you undercut the low prices for quick programmatic partnerships, right? For those things. So we have to stand up and know that our community and us are worth the value.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the core values actually, and Sheila, feel free if we need to move on to the next question, you can cut me
No,
off.
you guys are again dropping nuggets. Keep dropping them. I hear someone in the chat saying, "Preach, Lisa. Stand together, raise prices."
One of the core values at Cubicle to CEO in our community is financial transparency. And I've been working for years now advocating, especially for women and even more so for women of color, to have transparent conversations about money. And money is already such a taboo topic in society and culture, but even I think more so among women, I think we're programmed a lot to feel shame around talking about money. There's when I talk to people about, why they're afraid to talk about money, a lot of them say, well, I don't want to seem like I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't want to seem dumb. I don't want to seem greedy. That's another thing I hear a lot. Like, I don't want to feel like, I'm asking for too much. And I think that it's just so important to talk in whatever container feels right for you. Maybe it's privately with your colleagues, or in my case, it's using our platform as a public way to talk about it. I've been sharing my income reports in my company since 2019. So this is now
Awesome.
Going into our 4th year of doing that. And it feels scary, right? To like put all your numbers essentially out there for everybody to hear and see. And there's ups and downs in our business that come with this journey. But what I get back, the feedback is so worth any risk or, feelings of discomfort that I might feel in sharing sometimes, because so many women come to me and go, oh, I didn't know I could, I didn't know that was an expense that I could use as a deduction. I didn't know that I could budget this way. I didn't know to ask that rate. I didn't know these were the questions that I should be looking at or that I should be planning for. And it all goes back to, again, like, awareness is so key, and you have to be exposed to these new thoughts and these new people and ideas and whatever for you to actually grow as a leader, grow as a business. And so I just encourage everybody as much as possible, whether it's just talking to your best friend about it or whether it's opening it up to your whole community like we do, talk about money, talk about finances, and make that a normal thing to do.
All sound advice. You got to make sure you're getting your value and getting paid what you're worth. And that is so incredibly critical. Now, we were talking a little bit about how you all build your businesses in terms of getting yourselves in front of clients and some of the tips and the tricks there. But really, we are nothing without our community and without the people that we serve and who come to us every day as a trusted voice, as a trusted resource. So, Ranisha, you talked a little bit of this about building community through your events. I'd love to hear how you're building community, what you're learning from your community distinctly through the lens as a diverse woman, and what we can share as some key takeaways for our partners who are listening today.
Yeah, no, exactly like you said, nothing without my community, because before I had anything, I had that social capital. And that really speaks to, folks who say my name in rooms that I'm not in. And that has been my story my whole career, but even more so through my business. Any early press opportunity that I received was all through someone who knew me or someone who had seen my work and just really believed that, we had a story that needed to be told that wasn't getting told. And the community that we're building is really transitioning now because we're now so focused on digital. And I do miss that in-person component, but that in-person event series that I talked about laid that foundation for us. And we really built upon it from there. So after seeing just these women come together in real life and just the energy in the room, like the openness and willing to share, I say that a mindset of our community is, the concept of lifting as they climb. And it's so important. It's just like, I'm not there yet. I'm not at the top yet, but here's a resource, here's an opportunity. Like, there's more than enough for everybody to go around. And I thought that was so unique about our community. And there wasn't, after they left the room, there wasn't a space or a place for them to continue that sharing. So we decided to start a private network that our audience can tap into. They pay a monthly or yearly fee to get access to basically like a giant group chat. We host it on Slack and we call it Her Agenda Insiders. And it's where we promote just mentorship. We have custom programming where we invite women experts to come in, answer any questions for their audience. And that's also, just quite frankly, our think tank and our focus group to a certain extent, a microcosm of our bigger audience and our bigger community. So it's been really, really phenomenal just to continue that mission approach that we have, to not have to put our content behind a paywall, because when we were trying to figure out revenue model, that was brought up as a suggestion, but I'm like, that's the opposite of the reason why I created the platform. It's just so people who don't normally have the means can have access to opportunities. So why would I put the information behind a paywall? So that was just our solution for that. And yeah, it's been really phenomenal to see it grow. And when all of our brand dollars like closed in, the height of the pandemic, we had that as recurring revenue. So our community again and again comes to becomes our savior in all ways and circumstances.
Well, and to echo on that, how we're building our community, and it kind of goes back to the conversation of relationships, and your audience trusts you, right? So if you're not, giving them just fluff, right? Which it's like, if you're going to write something you want to write about. Mean it. Don't just write it just to put it out there for fluff or for a space for ads to be placed on, right? If you're doing it, do something meaningful. So I feel like, as long, and great idea about I've been struggling with that, trying to figure out how do we do this thing without putting content behind a paywall, because I think everybody deserves great content. But doing what you're doing is just gave me my bingo. Okay, that's what we're doing, right? So, but it's your, it's building the trust with your audience, and it's your community.
And I don't know if any of you had to crowdfund during the pandemic, but we had to do a small crowdfund in 2020. And again, my community coming to save the day when all else fails.
It's amazing. Ellen, did you have anything you wanted to add on that question?
Well, I mean, like these ladies said, community is central. And Lisa, I know you especially have emphasized the importance of relationships. And I think that it bears repeating that people are your greatest assets, like bar none, hands down in business, people are your greatest assets. So if you're going to invest in something, invest in people. And I think that, as far as our community, we have always been a digital first community. So actually, hearing you talk about her agenda and the live events that you've done, Ranisha, that's so inspiring, because that's a direction that we'd love to move into and bring more into our community. But, we started as digital first. And so many of the people in our community have, as far as how we monetize, we provide paid programs. So, online challenges, courses, coaching programs. So that's our primary source of revenue. But we always felt it was really important to keep our primary content channel, so the podcast, free. And I think that is, why I'm also so grateful to the brand partners that we get to work with through Sheila and, the work that you guys do at Mirror Digital, is that those brand partners, when they're investing in our free content channels, they're also investing in the people that those content channels serve, right? And they're saying, we think that these voices and these stories matter. We think that connections and opportunities and resources for this community matters, and we're showing it with our dollars. And so I think that, I really believe that amazing content can change someone's life. Transformation happens through story. And so I just echo everything else that you guys said.
Ladies, you guys are so impressive, so wonderful. This has been a warm, open, engaging conversation. And I love how the lens has really been, putting others first and thinking about other people and thinking about connection. So for this Women's History Month, what a way to go. We're going to close out our conversation. And as we close, I just wanted to have everyone share the one thing that has been, I don't want to say your superpower, because that's usually the positive connotation, but where have people gotten it wrong when they've thought about you and something that you've overcome? So to put a finer point on it, for me, I've been underestimated and I've been counted out. And I've used that as a secret, kind of weapon to fuel me in terms of my aspirations and also to get things done under the radar. So how can we use those things that are usually, as women or women of color, are usually strikes against us? How do we turn those things into advantages?
I love that. That's super powerful. And I relate to that as well. I'll just add to say, a lot of times when you're the first and the only, or you're in a position where you feel like you don't have your community in the room with you, it can be hard to speak up. It can be hard to ask what you want to ask for. But what helped me to tap into, I don't say confidence, I say courage. So tap into having the courage, because it doesn't mean I don't have any fear. I have the fear, but then I do it anyway. And people say that a lot, but then how do you actually do it? For me, I just think about my ancestors and where I came from. And Oprah says this a lot. She quotes her mentor, Maya Angelou, who says, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And I think about the shoulders that I stand on, the sacrifices that were made in the generations before me. And that allows me to tap into that courage to, even if my voice shakes, even if I feel unsure, even if I stumble and stutter, I'm going to make the ask. I'm going to not tell myself no before someone else tells me no. And that's something that I would love to, continue to share. And hopefully whoever's watching can tap into their courage by tapping into their community and whoever came before them, because everyone had sacrifices made from generations before to get to where you are today.
Oh man, I wish I could just pull that one piece out and print it on a poster. Don't say no to yourself. Give other people the opportunity to say no. Don't discount yourself. I think for for me, the thought that comes to mind is, I love that companies are placing a greater focus and priority on diversity, on inclusion, on, the growing market that we all represent. But I think sometimes I find that it can be, what is it, like limiting in some ways, where people see you only through this one dimension, right? And I think we feel that not only as multicultural women, but also as women in general. Even the labels that people give, like, boss babes or girl boss or whatever it is, it's like they only see you through this one lens of this is who you are one dimensionally. And I think that it's important that we really step into the spotlight and step into our roles and realize that yes, we are multicultural women, but there are also many other parts of us and our story and the communities that we represent that are just as important. And I think too that it's about realizing, I don't even know like how I'm trying to describe this right now. I'll end it right there. But like I think it's just so important to not just see us as one dimensional and realize that as women, even though I believe we're just as deserving as these, in these leadership roles, we do also uniquely have things that can be our strengths. Things that are seen as weaknesses can be strengths. Like people, sometimes will describe women as, oh, you're very emotional, or maybe they operate under the false assumption that you're not tough or whatever it is. And so sometimes I think in trying to fit into these roles, we almost try to morph ourselves into being more like who has traditionally held these roles, like men. But I think it's important for us to embrace what makes us uniquely women too, right? Our emotional intelligence, our empathy, our focus on community and collaboration. Those are traits that I've seen uniquely exemplified in female leaders. And I think that it's important that we continue with that.
Yeah, so I know our time is super short, and I echo what these two ladies have said. And, and I go back to the trust. And when you have folks around you who trust you, they'll feel that that's your superpower of expertise as well. I have popped into a couple of situations where you are the expert in it, but a lot of folks think about, well, this is the way we've always done it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I hear that, I'm like, okay, that's great. This is the way we've always done it. But let's look at it a different way, right? And perhaps the old way is the old way, and the new way is where we are today and who the audience is or who the community is, right? So, we always got to get the temperature of the audience and the community. So if you're able to have those trusts and those relationships with your community, that's a really big superpower in my lens. And that's it.
Fantastic. Well, I did want to leave a minute for questions. Let's see how much time we have. We literally have 1 minute. So if anyone has any questions that we can answer quickly, please let me know what your questions are. We have one that came through in the chat. And this is someone who said, kudos to all the smart women here. Are there any men that inspired and helped you achieve your success? And I'm sure we've all had men help us achieve our success. And I'll just kind of turn this into a comment. I think it's really important that your mentors and the people that you ask for help represent the diversity of the world around us. So, I'm not going to only go to Black women for help or only go to women of color for help. It's like everyone is supposed to help me. And I think everyone should be knocking on the door asking everyone help you. So does anyone else have anything they want to make or say on that point?
I think that's so true, Sheila. I think we all play a role in each other's success. And so absolutely, like, I don't think women could do the incredible work that they do without also the men who support them in doing that work and advocate for them from a place of having that greater voice or platform in the situations where they do.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, ladies. Ellen, Lisa, Ranisha. This has been an inspiring and an engaging conversation. It's like I am totally energized right now, ready to go take on the world. So I appreciate you guys sharing all of your comments, your insights, and thank you for being partners with us at Mirror Digital. We really appreciate you all and the wonderful work that you do. So bravo, that's right. And we look forward to moving things forward in the future. Thank you so much for joining us for Mirror Moments, episode 9, featuring dynamic multicultural women in digital media. We had a great afternoon with you and can't wait to see you on the next one. Have a good one.